The Western powers could never have predicted that an African leader would rise up against them, limiting their influence and challenging their presence. Burkina Faso's President Ibrahim Traore recently proclaimed an open war against Western powers, signing accords that directly harm their interests. These activities represent a crucial threshold for the West, and crossing it might result in the removal or assassination of any African leader. However, Ibrahim shocked the West by doing something unexpected, leaving their assassination attempts useless. So, what did Ibrahim Traore do? Let's get into the details. Since Captain Ibrahim Traore took power in October 2022, Burkina Faso has separated itself from France and grown closer to various non-Western countries. The ritual was meant to be symbolic. However, it clearly highlights Burkina Faso's revolutionary authorities' determination to form new relationships. Traore holds the rank of capitaine, which is French meaning captain. There are 3 positions above captain. They are commandant, lieutenant colonel, and colonel, respectively. Burkina Faso, a former French colony, copied France's military command organization. While many people view Traore's elevation as meteoric, among military circles, his ascent to the top was imminent. Captain Ibrahim Traore's actions and remarks have drastically impacted Burkina Faso's relationship with the West, especially France, during his time as the military leader who would take office in 2022. Ibrahim Traore is Burkina Faso's president at the moment. He became the world's youngest head of state when he and other junior military officers deposed Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Damiba, who had also been elected president through a coup. Many individuals believe France maintains a neo-colonial influence, interferes with internal issues, and restricts the country's growth. This sentiment drove Traore's ambition to end connections with France and declare Burkina Faso's independence. Furthermore, Ibrahim Traore and many Burkinabe civilians believe that Western-backed solutions to issues like terrorism and poverty have been ineffectual. This dissatisfaction with Western interventionism has driven a desire for alternate options, including strengthening connections with non-Western nations like Russia. For sure, this was shocking news for Western countries. Not only that, a growing sense of Pan-Africanism across the continent has spurred Traore's high-minded goals, which emphasize African unity, self-reliance, and rejecting outsider interference. For those who don't know, Pan-Africanism is a global movement that seeks to foster and enhance solidarity among all indigenous peoples and diasporas of African origin. By disrupting what is normal and confounding Western expectations, Ibrahim Traore has not just crossed the threshold that the West tried to prevent African leaders from passing through, but has also gone beyond it, frustrating the West with his innovative techniques. Captain Ibrahim Traore knew that removing France from Burkina Faso required a consolidation of support and authority. Using deeply rooted influence required much strength and refusal. To accomplish this, Traore went on an anonymous effort, eliminating French authorities while keeping international powers in the dark about his future ambitions. By decreasing their presence, he hoped to reduce the possibility of interference. His show of authority began by rejecting the French ambassador and suspending collaboration and long-standing ties with France. He also restricted the spread of French propaganda under the cover of journalism. Traore also openly expressed his displeasure with regard to Western countries meddling in Burkina Faso. Under Traore's presidency, Burkina Faso's foreign policy toward Russia changed dramatically. This change reflected past dissatisfaction, current political realities, and strategic decisions on both sides. The change was fueled by significant worry about Western powers and a desire for alternative ties. It poses both opportunities and difficulties for Burkina Faso's future and the wider region. French interventions in regional disputes were frequently seen as unsuccessful and harmful to local interests, which further undermines trust and encourages the search for new supporters. This attitude created a climate in which Russia, seeking to increase its influence and challenge the dominance of the West in Africa, perceived a chance to succeed. Russia has emerged as a vocal advocate of the Burkina Faso administration on the international scene, sheltering it from criticism and potential penalties. This constant backing has added to President Traore's legitimacy and raised his international profile. Not only does Burkina Faso have the advantage of collaborating with Russia, but also even Russia has advantages. Burkina Faso is an important partner for Russia in its goal of increasing global influence, as well as an opposing force to Western hegemony. The country's advantageous geographic position and abundance of resources from nature make it a desirable partner. Russia intends to establish a presence in the region and present itself as a vital performer in African politics by providing military and economic aid. The Russian-Burkina Faso collaboration has materialized in a variety of ways, with Russia serving as the principal supplier of military equipment, including weapons, filling the hole created by France's exit. This essential support has substantially improved Burkina Faso's counterterrorism capabilities and strengthened its ties with Russia. While France sought to wipe out Burkina Faso of weapons and encourage terrorism, Russia intervened, undermining the Western pattern of inciting conflict and then providing support. Furthermore, Burkina Faso wanted to diversify its economic ties, turning to Russia for aid. Burkina Faso has struck agreements in mining, energy exploration, as well as infrastructure development, strengthening its suffering economy and laying the groundwork for future partnerships. These agreements provided Burkina Faso with an influential partner in the form of Russia. It is worth noting that President Vladimir Putin's personal support has played a vital role in strengthening Traore's dominance. Putin's recognition, diplomatic support, and provision of economic and military support have helped to strengthen Traore's control over the military, a critical power base, and established him as a major figure, both locally and globally. Initially, Traore sought someone to assist him in challenging Western forces. However, after uniting his forces, Traore has become one of Africa's most powerful individuals, diminishing his reliance on Russia. The rise of Captain Ibrahim Traore to power in Burkina Faso in 2022 has resulted in a significant shift in the country's foreign policy, with a clear preference for Russia. This move is motivated by Traore's desire to have allies that can truly help Burkina Faso as opposed to exploiting it. In exchange, Burkina Faso gives Russia something it has never had before. Yes, that is the loyalty from an African country. Captain Ibrahim Traore made a significant and pioneering speech, stating that the people of Burkina Faso fully backed Russia's military involvement in Ukraine. The announcement stunned Western countries, notably the United States. It was an open declaration of war against the Western philosophies that shaped Africa. Ibrahim Traore specifically stated in his views that the West ought to stop assuming that what they consider to be bad will also be wrong for Africa. That's what Nelson Mandela stated, and it became one of his most famous comments. He had stated that the West should quit believing that its opponents would be enemies of all countries on the earth. Traore now embodies Nelson Mandela's phrase, "He will do what is best for his own country." African countries no longer need to seek permission from Western countries before implementing foreign policies. President Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso has expressed a fundamental shift in African foreign policy. The notion represents a demand to break free from historical standards shaped by colonial perspectives, in which African nations were frequently believed to share the West's objectives and enemies. The president underlines the importance of African countries, especially Burkina Faso, shaping their external relations based on their own geopolitical, economic, as well as security concerns. This contrasts with Western powers' tendency to instantly align with perceived enemies. President Ibrahim Traore is calling for a more independent and specific to the area approach to foreign relations by rejecting colonial mindsets. This approach challenges the notion that what is thought to be harmful to the West must automatically affect Africa, developing a more complex and self-sufficient view of international relations. This was never done before. If an African leader suggested such a concept, he would be assassinated immediately. But surprisingly, Burkina Faso's president not only proposed the idea, but also carried it into effect. He surprised the West by announcing the resumption of negotiations with North Korea, the West's main adversary for years. The relationship between Burkina Faso and North Korea has changed depending on the devotion of the Burkinab leader in power. In the early years, North Korea offered Burkina Faso limited agricultural and technical assistance, setting the groundwork for a broader alliance based on shared ideological beliefs. A watershed moment came in 1983, when Captain Thomas Sankara, a Marxist revolutionary, took over control of Burkina Faso. Sankara viewed North Korea's communist regime as a kindred spirit and established diplomatic relations, resulting in a tight friendship marked by military cooperation. Sankara visited North Korea twice, first as prime minister and again as president. The formation of the Friendship Association represented a strengthening cultural and intellectual link. Despite Sankara's assassination in 1987, his successor, Blaise Compaoré, initially maintained strong connections with North Korea. Blaise Compaoré's visit to Pyongyang in 1988 demonstrated his dedication to cooperation. However, the turning point happened in 2009 when Burkina Faso, as a temporary member of the UN Security Council, voted in support of Resolution 1874, placing more sanctions on North Korea. Experts believe that one of the reasons Western powers assassinated Thomas Sankara was his developing engagement with North Korea. However, it is worth noting that North Korea was not viewed as an immediate threat to Western nations at the time. Despite this, Captain Ibrahim Traore continues to get closer to North Korea, sparking a conflict with the West. Burkina Faso cut diplomatic ties with North Korea in 2017 in response to Western pressure and UN resolutions, causing major estrangement between the two countries. However, after a 6-year pause, Burkina Faso and North Korea announced the restarting of diplomatic ties on March 30, 2023. Burkina Faso, which is facing an escalating terrorist threat, plans to collaborate with North Korea to boost its military capabilities. It also intends to assert greater independence in its foreign policy by cultivating partnerships beyond traditional partners in the West. The agreements between Burkina Faso and North Korea cover possible collaboration in a variety of industries, including healthcare, agriculture, as well as mining. North Korea's expertise in weapons development and military training provides a chance for cooperating in counter-terrorism measures. However, Burkina Faso's desire to obtain weapons from North Korea may violate UN sanctions, resulting in economic consequences and diplomatic isolation. Still, for sure, Ibrahim Traore does not prioritize obeying sanctions that result in losses for his country. North Korea is well known for developing nuclear weapons and declaring itself to be a nuclear state. This raises the prospect that Burkina Faso is going to explore nuclear technology or expertise. Using nuclear power would strengthen Burkina Faso's freedom by removing the West's ability to control or manipulate the country. This concept opens up exciting possibilities for African countries, allowing them to benefit beyond the boundaries placed on them by the Western world. In essence, it represents the complete freedom of African states from Western influence. If this happens, Western countries will lose access to African territory for exploitation and development. Some anticipate that this action will have a rippling effect throughout Africa, rolling in a new period controlled by Russia and potentially overshadowing Western power in the continent. Burkina Faso, positioned in the heart of West Africa and sharing boundaries with important nations such as Mali and Niger, has the potential to be a big participant in this scenario. Burkina Faso occupies a key location that might become the center of gravity for geopolitical disturbances. Its substantial mineral resources, particularly gold and the metal manganese, appeal to Russia and provide leverage for stronger economic and political ties. The continued fight against terrorism provides an environment receptive to Russian military support and increased security collaboration. The combination of these elements places Burkina Faso as a potential force for change. If Burkina Faso successfully works with Russia, it might act as a beacon, attracting other African governments dissatisfied with the West to the Russian sphere of influence. This might result in a chain reaction, dramatically reducing Western influence and changing the region's geopolitical environment. Such a shift would have far-reaching repercussions, perhaps lessening Western influence on notions such as democracy, human rights, and good administration, while increasing competitiveness. The above scenario is already a reality, as Captain Ibrahim has reached a key level and is about to surpass it. The proposed confederation of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso has spurred speculation about the development of a regional bloc allied with Russia. The goal of this idea is to develop greater economic and political integration, which might serve as an example for other African states. The proposal to form a confederation between Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, is a groundbreaking endeavor that defies conventional notions of regional collaboration. It aims to create a fresh framework for African unification that transcends the constraints of existing regional organizations, such as the African Union. The goal is to build a strong continent-wide association that will transform Africa into a strategic and economic superpower on the global stage. Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are now in discussions about forming an association. However, if Captain Ibrahim's intentions continue as they have thus far, this union could grow to embrace the entire continent. The envisioned confederation seeks to build collective identity and togetherness among African states by highlighting a common sense of connection to a greater entity, Africa. Similar to the notion of the United States of Africa, all African countries would be merged into a single body rather than separate nations. This goes beyond simple regional connection, imagining a single continent that transcends historical boundaries. Unlike present regional alliances, this ambitious initiative seeks to bring all African countries together, harnessing collective resources, experience, and power to successfully tackle global concerns and capitalize on opportunities. The proposed confederation requires the construction of strong legal and institutional foundations. Agreements would connect all African countries to the confederation, laying the groundwork for collaborative governance, economic policies, along strategic endeavors. The association is viewed as a symbol of African independence and self-determination, opposing the historical narrative produced by external forces. Through this confederation, African states hope to carry more power in global affairs, with a stronger diplomacy voice to actively shape international policy, handle global concerns, and establish completely beneficial partnership. The concept seeks to overcome the limitations of regionalism by bringing the entire continent together, resulting in a more comprehensive and complete body that reflects the various goals and aspirations of all African nations. This is where Ibrahim Traore emerges as Africa's most prominent anti-Western figure. The captain's partnership with Russia, North Korea, and China is a strategic shift aside from traditional collaborations, providing an opportunity for reshaping the global landscape. These collaborations are viewed as a way to diversify collaborations, reduce reliance on Western powers, and establish more freedom in international affairs for the benefit of African countries. Following this, Ibrahim Traore's geopolitical approach gains a positive phase with the proposed formation of a Pan-African confederation. If successful, the Union has the ability to alter African power relations, enhancing regional collaboration and offering an opposing hand to Western influence on the continent. Possible motivators include resetting historical injustices, economic imbalances, and an impulse to confront what he sees as an unbalanced global order. His open dedication to African self-determination may be motivated by philosophical, economic, and strategic factors. It is now clear that Ibrahim Traore has embraced acts that have proven deadly to African presidents in the past. However, he is still safe thanks to his influential connections and the country's supporters. Western nations are doubtful to attend Ibrahim Traore's assassination due to the deterrent effect of his powerful supporters, especially Vladimir Putin from Russia, as well as Kim Jong-un from North Korea. That's why we can consider that Traore has made a strong and mindful decision when making friends. Ibrahim Traore's strategic alliances with Putin and Kim Jong-un act as effective deterrents to achieve their shared goals. Any harm to Ibrahim Traore might be interpreted as a challenge to the leadership of Russia and North Korea. The risk of damaging these partnerships prevents Western nations from adopting extreme actions against him. Both Putin and Kim Jong-un are known for their assertive and retaliatory foreign policies, which suggests that any injury to Ibrahim Traore might be triggered by these leaders. Beyond military measures, economic sanctions, diplomatic isolation, and other forms of reprisal may be used, affecting Western interests. Traore has now found himself at the center of world attention, with some making comparisons between him and Burkina Faso's famed revolutionary Thomas Sankara, hardly surprising in a country longing for political heroes after generations of misrule. Now that brings us to the end of this video. Comment your thoughts about Traore and his anti-Western acts. Let's meet again with another interesting video.